Welcome, Katie. I have been so excited to have you on the show, especially the first ever guest in a live studio. It's really great to have you here and to have a real conversation in front of each other rather than Zoom. So,
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here.
I've been dying to do this one with you. And this is probably one of the most controversial and tricky subjects that I've done on this particular podcast, but both you and I really thought this was important. It was an important subject to tackle. We're really sorry if we offend anyone out there or anything like that, but the intention of this particular podcast is to really get the message out there that we have a really big responsibilities as psychics, clairvoyants, mediums, healers, whatever we want to call ourselves. The responsibility is huge to make sure that we're being ethical and that we are helping people for the highest good. And the industry, unfortunately, the spiritual community isn't regulated. So this is a big problem.
Yeah, definitely.
And today we're going to be sharing stories that we have experienced or we've seen other people experience, and everything will be confidential and hidden for identity reasons. But I think it's a really important conversation. And the reason why I really wanted you to be part of this conversation is because, like me, you're from the corporate industry, where policies and procedures and understanding how a scope of training and duty of care comes into play in professionalism. And when you're working in the spiritual community, it shouldn't be any different. We do have regulations in the rest of the world that we need to stick to. And this is something we would like to see in community.
100%.
So welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I, for one, quite like triggering conversations because it gets us to think outside the box. So,
Yeah.
and I say if we're triggered by something, it's just a reflection, isn't it? It's some food for thought. So,
Absolutely.
very happy to be here and be taking part in what I believe is a conversation anyone in this industry should be considering. Definitely.
Absolutely. And you're one of my first ever master students
Yeah.
for
Yep.
Reiki.
Super exciting.
Yeah, and I get to share you with another beautiful master who was also wonderful. And we really had a lot of discussions about the ethical side of being a master in Reiki, but in any level of Reiki, because anyone working in this industry, anybody, no matter what modality you're doing, you've got a huge responsibility. There are people coming to you during their hardest times of their entire life, at critical times. And what you share and what comes up with your particular hits, or what kind of information's coming up in the healings, the readings, the experience is extraordinarily powerful, and it will most likely change the course of their life.
Yeah.
So what we say is important. It's important also to have trained professionals out there that not only are gifted in these beautiful gifts, but to also know how to deliver this information in a healthy way. Yeah, so we've got a few stories to share today, don't we?
We do, definitely. I think it's important that we share some of these stories just to put a little bit of context as to where the problems can arise in our industry. As I touched on before, because it's so unmoderated, it's really hard to be out there in the world by yourself as a gifted healer or reader. You might have just come into these gifts and not really know how to channel them safely, or you might come from the other side of it where you've gone and got a certification. Maybe the information was missing. Maybe it's because there's no moderation. It's really hard to find that path. I think sharing these stories is important so that we can shed light on what can happen and where we are responsible in safeguarding things.
Absolutely, because most people coming into Reiki or any sort of spiritual modality, most people have beautiful intentions.
Definitely.
And with the exception of the very rare cases that have ill intentions, and we don't get to experience them in our world very often.
The aim is not to.
Yeah, we try to duck and weed those ones. But we understand that most people have beautiful intentions. It's just when ego sometimes gets in the way, or lack of information and understanding.
100%.
Yeah, so it's not so much that these people are trying to hurt anyone or harm anyone. It's usually, from my experience, when a practitioner has given really toxic information out to someone and it's had a negative effect, it's usually been ego-based. They're excited to get the hit. They just blurt out exactly what's coming up without understanding the consequences of that.
100%. Yeah, and I would just add that I think another major problem is just having a small toolkit and not really knowing what to do with it. As much as I find I've both benefited and been concerned by this. You can knock over a Reiki qualification in a weekend,
No.
which that on the one hand, that's fantastic. And my experience with it has been beautiful. But on the other side of the coin, if you've only got a select amount of tools, unfortunately, a lot of people are given a book and a weekend and a see you later.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate to have you as a mentor, and I know you're the same with all of your students. I don't feel left in the lurch.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's not the case. So they go out into this world with a manual, hopes and dreams,
Yeah.
and good intention, but
Yeah.
not necessarily what they need to be a practitioner
Yeah.
fully and
Absolutely.
safely.
And you and I, we've had to debrief with each other a few times, but incredibly, most of my students are repeating Reiki.
Mm.
And they're coming to me because they want to learn, number one, intuitive Reiki, which is what I teach. But number two, because they literally, most of them have experienced a situation where they have done level 1, 2, and 3 in one weekend.
Mm. Mm.
Now, I'm going to get some backlash on this, most likely, but I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around that. This is such sacred teaching. I don't even feel like 2 days is enough for one level.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Just even from the practitioner's perspective, every single level absolutely bamboozled me for weeks.
Yeah.
Months with the third one. Like
Yeah.
it takes a long time to integrate that knowledge
Yeah.
just on a soul level, not even a practical level, just on a soul level
Yeah.
to actually let that settle and sink into your system.
Yes.
It is beyond me how it's done over a weekend.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I'm really struggling with it. And when they redo it, it's not because I'm the most special Reiki teacher in the world. There's many different amazing Reiki teachers out there. But what I'm seeing is these people are shocked when they redo it because they're like, oh my God, I didn't know about this thing called healing crisis, which we need to talk about today big time.
Definitely.
Oh, I didn't know that there was 21 days that I needed to integrate these energy healing, self-healing protocols. Oh, I didn't know that I was supposed to have my attunements separated. Oh, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to push the energy out of my hands.
Yeah. I thought I was doing it wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Well, all of this seems so trivial after the fact. When you learn it, you go, well, yeah, of course. But as someone who is, I mean, a lot of people, actually myself included, my first introduction to the Reiki world was that I turned up in a classroom, a very beautiful one, I will say, but still I just turned up because I was curious.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what this is. I want someone to tell me. Now, I was very spirit-led, I know that, but I also had never had any interaction like this before in my
Wow.
life. So
Yep.
to go from I like to use the term muggle because it's like completely just, I was off in my little normie world.
Normie.
And then I got curious about Reiki and then sat in a classroom. My world got turned upside down.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. We do have a bit of a responsibility as teachers to know that who's coming in. There's a big spectrum. And sometimes it is people coming back in because they realize that for whatever reason, their first teachings didn't quite match up to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And they come and sit down and there's this whole different scope of things that they're being taught. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Saying it too, it is very common now that people are relearning. And a lot of this also has to do because the healing modality itself is adapting and changing.
It is.
I actually do see a lot of benefit to people coming and relearning if it calls to them to do so, because the art itself is also changing.
Absolutely. And just like your Reiki school, we are teaching intuitive Reiki. We're teaching the Mylanta technique as well. The more traditional Yasui's teachings, of course, we bring that in and we respect that. But we've actually evolved as a collective to a certain point where this information is coming through a lot quicker. We have new techniques to add on to it, and more ascension is happening very, very fast compared to what it would have been many years ago when Yasui brought this into the world, re-brought it into the world, I should say. There's a huge responsibility there. And I've had to learn the hard way too. I've learned all of my mastery, I guess you could say, out of my incredible mistakes.
Yeah, it's usually the way, isn't it?
There is definitely no martyr here. I have screwed up so many times with the best intentions. not knowing when a student maybe wasn't ready and they've come into my school and I've just gone, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I'm just going to let them do it, or I'll let them go to the next level. No, 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 that doesn't happen anymore. The consequences of that can be quite intense.
100%.
And a teacher needs to understand that. And a teacher really needs to be able to see where their student is and go, you know what? I think another little bit of time, or I'm going to give them some tasks to do. I'm not going to ban them, but give them what they need to get to that level, because it's going to be really challenging for them if they smash straight into it without doing the work.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I find that if a student doesn't take the time to integrate it, but also may get misguided on their journey, perhaps they don't have the right skill set. I mean, we live a daily life. Maybe they've gone back to their normie routine. They go to work, they got their family. They haven't been practicing, maybe didn't do their 21 days.
Yeah.
I've seen people sort of not regress, because you can't really lose it, but they do fall out of alignment with their skill set. So I think as a teacher, we have a responsibility to catch that.
Yes.
And not so much call it out, but just redirect so that they're back on that path.
Yeah. I don't know how many times I've actually had students go, okay, I'm ready for level 2. I'm like, well, how about you catch the next level 2, because I want you to redo your 21 days, because I think it was all over the place. And we know when the students have done the 21 days compared to not done the 21 days.
You can see it.
You can see it a mile away. They are struggling after their attunement. They are really having a hard time compared to the ones that are actually, yes, they're having a challenging time during their 21 days, but every day they're clearing a new layer. So the layers aren't building up of shadow work. They aren't building up of trauma that wants to be released.
Yep. I had one that same thing. I had moved them to the next round that I will have available, because I could see there was an element there that I think they were just doing it because they felt like that's what they should do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was to prove to themselves or to prove to me, or whatever the underlying intention was that was there. I could see that they weren't quite ready, and they were sort of forcing themselves to get through it. And I said to this person, I said, darling, look, as much as I can see the potential and I'm excited for when you do eventually get there, I'm just getting the sense that you feel like that this is what you need to be doing. And I just want to check that you're in the right spot.
Yep.
And because, again, we can see it a mile away, she was like, actually, no, you got me. I don't think I'm ready. And I said to her, look, I think we'll move this on to the next round because I want to give you that time to really integrate it. But I don't want you to go to the next level for the wrong reasons, even if it's just within yourself.
Exactly.
And now going into this next round, I can see that they're definitely ready for it. So I think, had I not made that call as a teacher and just rushed her through anyway, there's a myriad of things that can go wrong with that. But I think she would have felt really hard done by in that sense as well.
And the attunements will blast through those chakras. If there's work to be done in those chakras, if there's hesitance, if there's, I'm just doing this for the wrong reasons, the chakras, they need to be able to, it is a form of awakening having these particular attunements, because those attunements are getting really, really keyed in, unlocked to be able to access new information and energy.
Yeah.
And if those chakras are holding too much trauma or too much trapped emotion, then it's going to blast through. And I don't say this to make anyone frightened or scary. It will be a temporary, very, very uncomfortable experience. But you don't want to have to go through that.
No, it's messy.
It's not messy. It's uncomfortable. I've seen students go through it and I think, oh, wow. Hence why my Heaven and Earth online course, before you even get to the modality of learning how to channel Heaven and Earth, I put them through a shadow work module. And that shadow work module, 50% stop there. And that's okay, because it means that they need to come back when they're ready. Then they will learn the channeling process. Then they will learn how to call in this beautiful Heaven and Earth energy and be able to do healing modalities. But they must work through whatever is ready to be worked through. All of the containers need to be emptied. But it's really important for them to be able to shift what they need to shift.
100%.
Yeah.
It's almost like we all need to reach this certain baseline, and that's different for each person, just depending on where they're at in life. But they need to reach a certain baseline where they can handle what's going to come at them, because when we become healers, we see some gnarly things. And again, it's not to scare anyone, it's just part and parcel of the role. So if the person that's learning Reiki or any other healing modality hasn't done the work within themselves, and then they come face to face with some pretty serious healing things going wrong, it can be just as damaging to the person giving the healing as it is
Yeah.
to the person receiving the healing, because
Yeah.
they're just not in the right space. So shadow work is paramount for this sort of work.
Yeah, it really is.
Mm.
It really is. I don't know about you, but when I opened up my Reiki school, I didn't feel like I was ready, but I felt guided to do it. And I remember saying, I'll chuck it up there on my website. I'm not even going to advertise it. I'm going to chuck up Reiki level 1 and I'm not going to advertise it. I'm just going to see what happens. Just throw it to the universe. I keep getting these nudges and my guides keep ringing it in that I need to do this. And I did. And I had someone book. And I went, oh no, I have to do this now. A part of me was like, I'm not ready for this. And one of the things that came to me was, if not me, who is going to be able to bring in the policies, procedures, understanding of all the HR? Because a lot of people don't know that my background was HR. It was health and safety. I worked with St. John Ambulance for many, many years. So working with the corporate world and learning how they do it in the normie world and bringing that in to a not regulated industry, my little piece of the pie can make things a little bit better, even if it's just the students that I get and their students onwards, and we can make things a little bit stronger for the future participants of these healers.
I had the exact same intention when I started my school, which was, again, we can't necessarily change the whole world, but we can make a huge difference to those that we interact with. And I've had a lot of students come to me that have had horrible experiences with their teachers, not giving them, I touched on it before, that they pay several $100s, get a book thrown at them,
See you
maybe
later.
a few little exercises, see you later. Exactly right. And it makes me so sad, because we know that Reiki is so, so much more than that, than to have people think that it's just this empty container with no structure to it. That does bother me. So as a teacher, I've made it my personal mission. Even if I only ever teach 5 students, that's fine. Those 5 students will go out there and make a world of difference.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about the consequences of students that maybe we haven't caught and they've had this book thrown at them. Here's your certificate. You're now level 3 in 1 weekend or 3-hour course. There's one on a popular online program, short course program, that is 3 hours for level 1, 2, and 3.
I've seen it, and it's...
I actually did it.
Yeah, it made my skin crawl.
I'm not here to judge other programs or whatnot, but this is the problem. Stuff. 3-hour course.
I have several problems with it, but I guess the overarching thing that it always comes back to me is that this type of work is sacred.
Yeah.
And with courses like that, again, no judgment, there is a very valuable place for online courses because of lack of access, or also creating further reach.
Yeah, it's like,
so it's like your heaven and earth course. You know that, again, because you've got the right intentions, you can go out and spread so much knowledge around the world.
Yeah.
So that in itself isn't problematic, but the problem is when you slap a cheap label on it and make it a 3-hour course for grand mastery, that is very, very, very concerning, because 1, it takes the sanctity away from it, and 2, I very much doubt that it's covering anything of substance that needs to be covered. It's not going to be talking about parasite removal,
which comes up after level 2.
Or tethering your energy so that you're not here, there, everywhere.
Grounding. So that you're not completely going into some sort of psychosis experience, which
we have seen.
That is scary shit, excuse my language, because there is a fine line, and I'm going to say it. I've never said this before, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to call it. There is a fine line between very conscious and starting to evolve through spirituality and that experience of spiritual growth and mental illness.
100%.
And me and you have both seen it.
And the thread is so thin. Again, this is why the shadow work's important, because if the person doing the healing or taking the course doesn't have the foundation to support themselves, that thread gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And we have seen people go off the deep end.
Absolutely. That was one of the big lessons that I had to learn. How do I keep my students safe? I'm not supposed to understand 100% how mental health works. I've done many psychology subjects. I'm doing one right now. I've studied as a nurse. I've done years of study. But still, how am I going? I'm not going to be able to diagnose anyone. I'm not a mental health doctor. I can't see if schizophrenia is coming through my door. And we're not expected to see that, but it's important, especially through particular consent forms and client intake forms, to actually get this information and understanding of where our clients are, because with that particular information, we've got a responsibility.
100%. And the important thing is knowing how to spot these things, because your critical role at that point is to know when to refer, to know where your limit is, where your scope of practice ends,
Yes.
and when someone else needs to come, especially with mental health.
Because it's all good and well saying, I'm going to start up a beautiful little Reiki business and it's going to be amazing. And my level 2s learned this the other day. We had this conversation. And I sat there on day 2 and explained how to have a consult. And they're like, but I don't need to learn how to have a consult with people. I'm not a therapist. I'm just doing Reiki. I'm like,
Joke's on you.
You are not just doing Reiki, because even the minute they sit down to have a quick conversation, before they even get on that table, the healing starts in the conversations. And I don't know how I could possibly be a healer. I use the word healer because I'm actually not healing anyone. They're healing themselves, but that's a whole nother podcast, which is also a point that we should talk about as well. But as a healer, I'm actually supporting the mind, body, and spirit. It's holistic.
Yeah.
So we also need to arm our students up with the understanding of how to listen and how to be with them and how to hold space with them without trying to coach them so much or counsel them, because that's above our scope of training. And when to refer, like you said before, and when to, really have an eye on particular mental health issues, like schizophrenia is the main one that I'm concerned about, or multiple personality. Now, there are healers that are phenomenal at that particular specialty. I'm not personally. I don't know if you are.
No.
I've decided, as in my practice, to refer them to someone that I actually think is really good with it. But I don't think I'm the right healer for schizophrenia. Tried it before, tried it twice, and it's 2 experiences that I felt like I didn't do a good job.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. You won't necessarily know these things until you have tried them, which is where I guess disclaimers are really important. Or if I have someone come in where I'm like, oh, not too sure how, which side of the line you fall on in my scope of practice yet, I always add the disclaimer. All right, let's give this a go, but know that I am not a trained professional by any means. And let's see where this takes us. But if at any point during this process I see that this is now on the other side of the fence, it'll be my responsibility to refer you on at that point. And I'm very, very transparent with that conversation.
We're happy because we're dealing with people's lives.
Yeah.
This is important stuff. The minute I detect that there is mental illness, most people have depression, anxiety. That's a non-negotiable that we see. Most people are led to healing because they're experiencing some deep work, and that's fine. But when it comes to some sort of psychotic,
where you can see that their well-being is going to be impacted.
Yeah, because are they going to be able to handle some of the healing purges and healing crises?
Yeah.
Now, one of my best friends, Sol, she's been on the podcast as well. She's a mental health counsellor, and I debrief with her sometimes, and I debrief with you. Obviously, taking confidentiality out, but we do need to debrief as we don't have that in our industry.
Yeah.
The counsellors have that. The psychologists have that. Yet we're getting told information that is, may I say it, even harder to hear and be with than what my friend who's a mental health counsellor is experiencing. Because there's an energetic component that just allows them to purge the information while they're there with us.
Yep.
And we're unearthing certain things slowly. It's non-negotiable. It just happens. The problem is, many aren't trained in actually what to do with that information.
Yeah. Well, this is the very reason why I personally decided I saw that there was a hole in this particular line of work, and I actually did further my study and I became a holistic counsellor.
Love that.
For this very reason.
Yeah.
Because I thought, look, I was getting people coming in with very serious things happening all the time. And whilst my role doesn't allow me to diagnose or anything, still, it gave me more tools to be able to find that line easier and to then refer or support in what ways I needed to. But I actually, to, I guess, be the devil's advocate on this, I think anyone who goes into any healing work or any sort of modality similar, I believe they should take a very basic mental health course as a minimum.
Yes. Even if it's like the trauma-informed, like we've done.
Yep.
And I actually refer that to all of my clients. Trauma-informed courses like 3 courses we did on it. And it
Yeah.
was amazing.
We got very lucky with that. But
Absolutely. Who was that with? That was the Center of
Healing.
Center of Healing. So I would recommend that. And that's an amazing course as a minimum.
Yeah.
When you become a level 2 practitioner, this is not the level 1s that are sort of working on themselves and auntie and across the road onwards, but the level 2, if you're actually charging and you're now entering the professional field, I think it's just like nurses and doctors and teachers, they need to keep adding to their skill set. They need to keep their professional improvement.
Yeah, self-improvement.
But it's really important. I'm
It is.
constantly doing a course at some time.
Yeah.
I'm doing an inner child certification at the moment. I think the holistic counseling is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm transformational coaching, which is quite different. But I think either sort of process you go through, if you're starting to understand the human mind and getting more into transpersonal psychology, which is this world, it's the conscious world of psychology.
Yeah.
Amazing. You will be an incredible healer.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, it's so accessible. There's plenty of courses out there that are affordable. I mean, we got a free one, which was awesome. There's so many different accessible options for people out there that there's not really an excuse to not do it. If you can afford to shell out the money to do a Reiki course, you can afford to shell out that little bit more just to do a mental health module.
Yes, or a grief.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember speaking to Geordie Jane, and she on a podcast, and she spoke about, as a minimum, she believes all mediums should have grief counselling. Something that I teach my students is that they just need to hold space. It shouldn't be a counselling session, just holding space and keeping your vibration nice and strong. And this is really, really important. When your vibration is nice and strong, there's a resonance effect. You're like a tuning fork. And that will actually help that person. They can either leave or they'll rise in vibration. And sometimes that's more helpful than any bit of advice that you could ever give anyone. And something that I do and I teach is to hold my vibration by doing a mantra. And this is something that I just naturally started to do. And keeping my back nice and straight and just really allowing this particular permission slip, and that's all it is, to allow me to just hear every word and understand every word without trying to come up with a smart, clever response. Which my ego would love to do. But it's not actually about me. And I've had to put my ego to the side to really just let the channel through, be present, be in the moment.
I'm a big advocate for letting people have their process. So it's very similar to your approach in that if you were to, cuddle them and give them a big hug and, say it's going to be okay, like that does sound sweet. But actually what you're doing is you're blanketing their energy. You're stopping them from actually allowing the purge to take place. So it's almost like sticking a Band-Aid on it and actually nothing is really achieved through that catharsis. So what I like to do is, the technique in itself is the active listening, but I like to just ask really open-ended questions and just allow them to have that unraveling a little bit further. So I might say, well, what's coming up for you at the moment? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? And just let that continue to unravel for them. And then I will back off and actually listen to what they're saying. But there's no answers. I'm not trying to give answers. I'm not trying to explain it for them. I'm actually allowing them to go down that journey themselves.
Which is what we're trying to achieve as healers. We want to allow them, hold space for them to facilitate their own healing. To be their own healers. And if we're giving them all the answers, I know I drove you absolutely insane during your inner child experience because I wouldn't give you any answers. I wouldn't tell you all the questions that you kept asking me. I kept making you find them. But what did that do for you?
Well, it allowed me to have my process because without giving me the answers, I had to sit and figure it out myself, which this is what we want for our clients, is we want them to, by asking certain questions or by reflecting the energy back to them, it actually allows them to eventually find their own way.
Spot on.
So in my case with the inner child work, I was like, all right, well, if you're not going to give the answers to me, well, what am I going to do now? Oh, well, I'm going to think about it this way. Or maybe I'll go down, I'll dig a little deeper down there. And eventually I found the gold mine that I needed to find.
Exactly. Spot on. And you had huge results. Huge results. I saw that transformation within you within a year. It was next level.
That was beyond anything I'd ever thought I was going to achieve from that. To be honest, I don't know in hindsight, I think I was just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what would stick. So I didn't think that was even going to be the thing. I'd done so many healing courses by that point, actual healings, like receiving healings,
Yeah.
that all the self-love work, all the shadow work, everything in between. And I was like, all right, well, we'll try this one. I'm trying everything at this point. And it was just that one
Yeah.
little thing where I got triggered and I had to have that catharsis.
Yeah.
But you really allowed me the space to really explore it, and the results that came from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The inner child program is pretty next level. It
It
really
is.
is. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
It is. But it comes with a warning label for sure.
Which I think we need to talk about. This is a perfect time to have a conversation about healing crises.
Yeah.
Can I share my first experience as a healer? I didn't know what a healing crisis was. As much as my energy healing school was brilliant, it missed that part. I wasn't prepared. I didn't understand what it was. I had no idea it could even happen. They mentioned something about some emotions coming up, but that was as far as we went. And again, this is really coming back full circle to why it's so important that you get really strong teaching and
Good on you.
I'll try that again.
From your Reiki mastery.
It's so much worse today with the solar flare, I'm telling you.
It is.
All right. So this is why having a good teacher to really support you and prepare you for these things that will come up eventually in your practice. If you're a healer, a reader, a medium, you're going to experience this at some point.
Yeah.
But healing crises are real, and they're a really, really intense thing. And it's all about mindset, about how if this is a positive or a negative experience, it'll be dependent on your mindset of it. And I'm sure we have lots of stories about this. But my first experience of a healing crisis was I was a baby Reiki practitioner, and I was doing a free program. So I wasn't charging at this point. It was just neighbors, friends, family. Anyone was welcome to come and join. And did a healing. And a lot of when you're giving it out for free to friends and family, a lot of them feel sort of like, oh, I better help her out and support her. And off they come. And this particular person wasn't very open to spirituality in the first place. She just wanted to be a good friend. She just wanted to support me. And anyway, so I didn't know any better. Off I go. And unbeknownst to me, she actually thought it was all a load of bullcrap. And I didn't realize. I thought she had some sort of understanding. And I do this healing on her, and it was very, very powerful. And worked through there's some pretty powerful blocks in the chakras, etc. Off she goes, and she looked a bit like a stunned deer with headlights. She walked out a little bit in shock, and I didn't think anything of it. I check in on her the next day, and she doesn't answer. And then 2 days later, she writes me this message, and she says, "What did you do to me? You've basically screwed me. What have you done? I'm worse than I ever was." So as a baby Reiki practitioner, I'm like, oh my God, they said I couldn't hurt anyone. What did I do? Shit. I had good intentions. I sent her love. I used universal energy. I did everything my teacher told me to do. It felt beautiful. It felt amazing. What went wrong? And I panicked. And my guides were beautiful. They came through and they're like, no, it's part of the process. And I didn't understand. I ring my master, and well, it wasn't actually my master is a celebrity, so I can't actually contact them. But like another support network in the teaching of that school. And she said, oh, I don't know, maybe you just weren't a good match. Like, God, I've really hurt someone. What have I done? So that really confirmed that I'd done some damage there. And then I did some research. I got on the computer and I actually did some research, and I found out that this is actually a thing called healing crisis. And for those of you that aren't aware what a healing crisis is, it's when basically think of any healing that you ever take place in. Physio, surgery, massage. What happens? Detox, like an actual body detox. What happens? We purge.
Yeah.
Might be physically,
Yeah.
if it's physio or some sort of dietary healing where we're going to have a purge where it's going to flush out of us. All the toxins are coming out. Or if we go to a funeral and we allow grief to come up, we purge. We're crying. We're feeling it. We're experiencing it. We're healing. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
But when you have energy healing that's quite strong and quite powerful, what happens is the exact same thing happens, except it happens on a mental, emotional, and spiritual dimension. So that person can have anything that was chronic within their body can become acute.
Yeah.
Because it's got to get a little worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And same goes with the emotional side. If they've got any deep emotional work that's come up and been cleared, all of a sudden they've been shaken up like a globe, and it takes a minute for it to settle.
Yeah.
But when it settles, they've got less to have to deal with in their day-to-day life. That's the best way I can describe it. What's your opinion?
Well, it's so incredibly common, isn't it? So the fact that it's not taught in a lot of courses is so bamboozling to me. And I'll admit it wasn't taught in my first one either, not to the extent that I feel like, I probably would have liked to have known about.
Yeah.
Because I had a very similar experience as a baby practitioner. All of a sudden, I came face to face with someone having a really difficult time.
Yeah.
So I've heard pretty much any practitioner I've spoken to had the same experience. So this is really common.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess the challenging thing about that is when you don't have the knowledge to understand what's going on, you really do feel like you've hurt them.
Yeah.
And you've just been told that Reiki can't actually hurt a person.
Exactly.
So it's quite bamboozling to find out.
And the problem is, if you think you've hurt them, when they call you to ask what on earth you've just done, you're going to be, oh no, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What does that do for the participant?
Exactly.
It reinforces that they are hurt. So whatever you believe actually does become. So now they are sitting with the fact that Reiki's bad and I've been hurt. And now this is really, and then the practitioner usually withdraws.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what we see on a day-to-day. I've heard stories about people getting their Reiki course, doing Reiki on their children, the children purging, because the children purge too, and then never, ever touching Reiki again.
My very first student came to me. She actually had no interest in learning Reiki when she came to me, but she was referred by another friend who said, I think you need to speak to Katie. I don't know what the initial context was, but she'd gone for a reading by my friend and was told to seek further advice from me. I said, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I'm always happy to have a conversation with anyone that'll listen, so I don't mind. And so, well, what brings you here? And she goes, I honestly don't know, but I don't want to learn Reiki from you. And I said, well, that's fine. I'm not going to pressure you to learn. So she came to me and she said, well, I'm not interested in learning Reiki because when I got my first Reiki attunement, I injured my son.
Oh my God.
And I said, okay, please tell me more. Well, what do you mean you injured your son? And she said, well, I'd done Reiki on him. It felt beautiful. All of this powerful stuff came through. And actually, his crisis was quite physical. So he was vomiting.
Yeah.
He had a very upset tummy.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah. And my understanding was he was also quite depressed. So that got exasperated as well. So he'd had this couple of days in bed where he was just really sick, mentally not well, and she swore off Reiki for the rest of her life. Now, for whatever reason, she was told to come and speak to me at that point. Thankfully, I'd learned what a healing crisis was by that time, and I was able to explain to her what had happened. I suggested to her, again, not going to make you learn Reiki if that's not what you want to do, but I suggested that she come and receive a healing from me just to re-familiarize herself with the energy.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you've actually got your first attunement already. So I recommended that she did her 21 days again. I said, you can redo those as many times as you want.
They're very healing.
So I said to her, redo your 21 day, come and receive a healing from me in that time as well. And after the 21 days, if you still feel like you're at the same point with that, then we can talk about it further.
Amazing.
But if you want to revisit Reiki after that point and it's something that calls to you, I by all means go for it. So she'd done her 21 days. She came back to me and said, I am feeling a lot better, but I would like to relearn Reiki again.
Wow, that's
so
congrats to you though. That's amazing. You brought one back to a really good healer, because she will be an amazing healer now.
Oh, she's incredible.
Because when you know, you know.
Yeah.
Now I had a student just last week say to me, ring me up, panicked. Even though she's learned in my courses what a healing crisis is. The first time it happens, you need reassurance.
Definitely.
You really do. Anyway, she had actually not put it two and two together. She hadn't put two and two together. She said, I just did a healing on my friend. She's really sick. She's throwing up. She's got diarrhea. She's really, really, really unwell at the moment, straight after the healing. And I said, oh, well done.
She
She went,
would have been like, what?
excuse me? She goes, clearly it's from the healing, Sarah. I've clearly done something wrong. And I said, remember your training. What is this? And she went, oh my God, she's having a healing crisis. And I said, you did a really amazing job. Because I know her intentions are the most beautiful intentions in the world. Like, she's just an absolute angel on earth, really, this woman. All of my students are. And she said, oh my goodness, she's having a physical purge. She's got, she had some sort of stomach element, chronic illness.
Yeah.
And then it became quite acute. This is the pattern. This is
Yeah.
what we see. And it usually lasts about 3 days, but for some reason the energies are changing a little bit lately. And I'm noticing sometimes it has, you know, not really extreme symptoms, but sometimes it can last up to 10 to 12 days.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's just because of, I think Mylanta has something to do with it as well, because Mylanta is a very strong clearing technique. So it gets rid of stuff that's been there ready to go for a very, very long time. So the purging can be very, very intense.
Yeah.
Nothing they can't handle. And again, mindset's so important. So she rang her client and she said, oh my God, I completely forgot what this is. It's a healing crisis. This is a wonderful thing. It's very, very positive. As uncomfortable as you are right now, this is going to be wonderful. I can't wait to see the results you're going to have in a few days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you are purging this much, something big is shifting that's been there for a very, very long time, and you're about to let go of it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Now look at the difference between what that conversation could have been with her client and what it was.
Yeah. Very powerful.
So now a client and practitioner are walking away actually excited about the fact that she's purging, not worrying that something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because where your mindset is everything.
100%. For sure. And I think another thing that I strongly encourage to my students now that we know that this is such a common thing is I like to do preventative maintenance rather than trying to explain it after the fact. So as part of my teachings, and in fact, what you've passed on to me as well, is to have an aftercare plan that you discuss with the client before it even gets to that point, because it's one thing to have the conversation after the fact, and that's a really beautiful example of how it can go well. But if you inform your clients up front, that's even more powerful, because they will know before it even happens what the process is. And there's a way that you need to deliver it where it's delicate. You don't want to scare your clients off. But in fact, I've seen a lot of people make cute little goodie bags where they've got like like aftercare instructions. But make sure you drink plenty of water. Make sure you have a nourishing meal. Make sure that you're aware of how you're feeling, whether that's through journaling or taking some time quietly, and just be aware that your body may respond in some unusual ways, and that it's perfectly okay. And an example that I use to my clients a lot is, if you're not sure what's happening with your body, think of when scuba divers are like go really deep down into the ocean. And if they come up really quickly, their body it is a lot more dangerous than that in a scuba diving sense, but the body does need to take some time to adjust to the vibrational change that's taken place. So if you go from, if you've been vibrating here and your body's, gone through a lot of things and it's had to have a really powerful healing, and then you've come up here in the space of, 45 minutes, your body's going to go, whoa, what the hell? Yeah, this has been quite the shift, and it does take the body quite a bit of time to adjust to those changes. So if you tell the client that up front and say, all right, you might have some physical, mental, spiritual things come up as a result, make sure you nourish your physical body and look after your mental health, you're sort of combating the potential for it to go really pear-shaped because they have that awareness already.
Absolutely. And these are really important conversations to have. And for anyone listening out there that has experienced a healing where they've felt like they've been sick for a couple of days, just know you had some pretty big lifelong shifts.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be afraid of. Just keep remembering nothing is wrong. If you've gone to this healer and you trust them and you know that they are loving in intention, then 100% there is nothing wrong. You are going through a healing crisis. The name itself should be changed, I think. It's not quite right, but it also prepares you. But yeah. Which brings us to some more heavier subjects before we finish up. I know that we spoke briefly at the start about how we have a really strong responsibility as readers, mediums, psychics, clairvoyants, healers. I personally will never ever forget my first experience with a psychic and a particular reading that I received that actually did more damage than good. And I'd like to share that. I was at a really big, well-known expo in Melbourne, spiritual expo. And I thought, I'm just going to go get a reading, go check out some of these readers. And I didn't really use my intuition on who to go with. I just plucked who was available. Off I went and sat down. I was young. And she sat there and proceeded to tell me all the horrific things that were going to happen to me in the years to come. Horrific. Like you're going to have all these miscarriages. You're going to have a stillborn baby. You're going to have an episode where you're going to wonder if you're sane. Like you're going to have mental health, which ended up, all of those things did come true. I did have miscarriages. I did have a stillbirth baby. And I did have postnatal anxiety and had to, this is before I started learning all this work, and it was one of the major reasons why I wanted to learn it, and had to go to the mother baby unit because my baby wouldn't sleep, and I went bananas for like 6 weeks, went literally crazy. So all of that stuff did come true. But why the hell did I need to know? All it did, and this is the honest truth, all it did, it didn't prepare me. It didn't make me feel like ready for anything to come. It didn't combat me with anything. All it did was provide terror and low dense vibration. Unfortunately, that's going to be matched due to the law of attraction as well, manifestation. So who knows the chicken or the egg? I don't know. I'm not going to delve into that today. But it just gave me terror and ripped me any joy of any pregnancy.
That's where this industry can be a real big problem, and this is a perfect example of ego getting in the way. Because I very much believe that reader was just so excited that they got a hit that they didn't really think through the relevance of that information.
Wasn't relevant.
And
Wasn't important.
It's
here.
It's really important to discern that as a reader. When you have this information coming through, do a quick little audit on what's coming through. Is it necessary? Is it necessary to tell that person that information? Is it relevant to why they've come to see you? What's going to transpire in their journey? Is it kind? And I sort of have those questions in the back of my mind, because sometimes you don't necessarily get control over the information that's coming through, but you do have control as to whether it comes out of your mouth or not. And it's really important to have that discernment, because some people may be of the opinion of, oh, well, I could be helping prevent a medical emergency. But is it necessary to actually have that conversation with someone if it's going to put them in a state of constant anxiety?
Especially in some of the cases where I've seen, and I will give you a counter conversation on this one too, but especially in that situation, there was nothing that could be done. My daughter Katie was never going to have a life. She wasn't able to survive. There was nothing I could do to prepare. There was nothing I could do to save her. It was just completely unnecessary for me to be aware of that. It just caused anguish and pain and stress. And I've heard another story as well. One of my students recently shared, and it was so sad. It was really, really sad. She said years ago, when she was in her 20s, she saw a psychic, and the psychic said to her that she was going to die at 47. And there was nothing that could be done. She was going to die at 47. So this lady really believed it. She really, really, truly believed that she only had to 47. So she decided not to have children because it would be unfair to the child to lose their parent at 47. And she decided not to buy a home, and many things and factors came in, and she lived like life was going to end at 47.
Yep.
which sounds positive in some ways, but it's not when you stop living because
Well, the hindsight part of that's the problem. Yeah.
it's not. She never got married. She never had babies, that kind of stuff. So she's now 63 and it's too late for babies. And she can't experience that joy that she would have loved to have had.
Yeah.
And I just felt for her so much hearing that story.
Yeah.
Because, she deserves so much better than that.
Well, it really drives home the seriousness of our job and the damage that we can do when we don't get it right, which is one of the biggest things I teach with my school is discernment.
Yep.
And when you get that information come through, actually the audit is really important because you can change someone's life. Now, there are situations where you may see something that can be done about it, and maybe that's worth.
That's very rare.
But it is exactly.
And the only time I've seen it is, and Geordie actually shared with me that this is actually a case of being a seer, which is actually a very rare type of clairvoyant. I have one student that rapidly was awakened during her attunement process. Poor thing. So she's a complete seer. And the difference between a general clairvoyant and a seer is someone that can actually see like final destination scenes.
Yeah.
And I've shared this with you.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
And she's amazing. So she will call me and go, okay, Sarah, I've just had another vision. It's going to be this, this, and this, and this at this time, at this place. How do I share this with the person?
Yeah.
And we'll sit there and workshop the most ethical and helpful way to share.
Yeah.
Because there is a chance, because she's getting that premonition of information, timelines, place and space, it's actually giving her a bit more opportunity to make changes. And she's actually saved 3 lives.
Yeah, that's beautiful that she's able to do that.
I know.
And I remember when you came to me, because again, we had to sort of try and workshop how we could support this person.
Above my understanding. It was above my scope of training.
Yeah.
Something doesn't help.
First thing I said was discernment on this one, because it's not to say that she's necessarily wrong. In fact, seers are very accurate. They're very powerful. But it's about, again, making sure that you deliver that information safely and making sure that the information is absolutely necessary.
Yes.
Because anything other than what is necessary could cause some serious damage.
Absolutely. And something that we've had to help her with, not just myself, because I don't have that kind of ability. So I've had to go and get other professionals in the industry. I've really reached out to get people to help her and support her as much as possible because she's such an intense case.
Yeah.
And something that we've had to really drum into her as a young seer, that there's going to be cases where she can't help.
Yeah.
And she needs to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
She can't take the responsibility of knowing. And many of us clairvoyants, we get premonition of death.
Yeah.
In fact, every time I do get a premonition of death, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
I get a particular smell and I smell it on someone, and I either know it's them, depending on the smell, or I'll actually get a sense of if it's someone close to them.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do. It's an exit point. It is done. I don't have any information of when, where. So if I was to say to them, so you're possibly going to die or someone close to you is going to die very soon.
Yeah, that's...
How helpful would that be?
Not at all.
I don't have any information. It's going to be sleeping with one eye open. They have no time frame. They have no understanding of how to stop it or how to prevent it. So it's actually not kind to provide that.
Yeah. The other thing this is purely just a belief here, so take it with a grain of salt, but I believe that we have different roles as healers. So with our seer friend, her role is to negate serious things from happening because she's been given the gift to do so. Our role is not actually that. Our role is to hold space for that person should they choose to. Like if they've come to us for that reason, then great. But this is where the discernment's really important. We know that that's our role and we would never hope to try and stop something because that's beyond our scope of practice. So we have that acceptance and we go, okay, well, we know that there's an exit point coming for someone in that immediate area. we're just going to do what we do best and hold space.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really, really important, because when the lines get blurred, we do get people out there going, oh, well, I'm just going to tell them that they're going to die soon.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's very, very messy, when really they could have avoided so much anxiety
yes.
and so much damage to that person by going, all right, got some intel
Yeah.
here, but I'm just going to hold
Yeah.
space for them.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So, just winding up now, is there anything that you would like to share from your experience in the spiritual community, or anything in particular that you would like to share to the audience that might help?
Yeah, I actually do have a story that I want to share, and
Mm.
there's a purpose as to why I want to share it with
Yeah.
you and the audience. There was a situation that happened with me one day, where I got a call from a friend who is a clairvoyant, and she asked me to assist her with a client that she deemed was out of her scope of practice.
Okay, sure.
So I said to her, all right, well, explain the situation to me. She said, right, so I had this person come for a reading, and during the reading, an invitation came up that they needed some healing done. And we happened to be at a fair at this time. So I thought, okay, I will send her to a healer that happens to be in the same space. So this client went to the healer. The healer uncovered some very serious sexual trauma.
Oh,
Didn't hold the container very well.
right.
They were in a public space because they were at a fair.
Yeah.
Sent this client home. The client understandably had a healing crisis, but also had a bunch of this trauma come up. And they went, well, what the hell has happened to me? And they went back to the first person, the reader,
Right.
and went, what the hell has happened? I just got a reading from you. You told me to then go and get a
Yes.
healing, and my whole life has been turned upside down.
Oh my God.
So my friend, realizing what had happened and after the fact taking some responsibility, she was very apologetic, didn't realize it was going to go that way. And she goes, if you can just give me an ounce more of your trust, I'm going to refer you to Katie.
Yes.
Go and see Katie. Yeah. Goodness. So then this client approached me, and she was in a very serious condition.
Oh
Her
my
mental
goodness.
health was all over the place. I think because of the combination of things that had happened, she was sort of hoping that I'd just fix her at that point.
Yeah.
And she was in a complete state of disarray.
Yeah.
So when I received this client, the first thing I said to her is, my job is not to fix you. I will not be doing any fixing today.
Yes.
There's going to be a little bit of education about what happened. And then if you feel comfortable for me to do so, I will do a further healing.
Yes.
Only to balance the energy that has
Amazing.
taken place, but I'm not fixing anything. I just want to calm down, slow down this process a little bit, so that your body and your soul can catch up.
Amazing.
And then you will be able to take the rest from there.
Beautiful.
So this is what happened. And the reason that I'm sharing this story is because there were multiple irresponsibilities that happened here. All of it could have been avoided. And this is essentially the education part that I passed on to her. I said, as a person receiving a service, of course, you're not to blame for any of this that had happened. You were just having a nice day out and probably didn't expect all of this to happen. But this is a really important lesson about researching your practitioner.
Absolutely.
I'm not a huge fan of fairs for this reason, because you don't really get a lot of time to research a person. And we have both done fairs before, and we've been on the other end of that, where someone's come in and not really known what they were coming in for, or they're expecting you to fix them. Being on the other end of that's not fun. But being a participant in these things, I strongly encourage, if you're going to go to a fair, do your research beforehand. A lot of us
do some Google reviews.
a lot of us take pre-bookings, so you have a chance to actually get to know us before you come in. If not, I say just err on the side of caution. If you're really feeling led to a person, just keep a really open mind, but just do your research if you can.
100%.
Then the other part of this situation, which was to my friend, I went back and had a little conversation with my friend, and I went, I have some feedback for you, which is, do not refer to someone that you don't know.
No.
So again, do your research. If you're going to be referring as a practitioner, make sure you're aware of who you're referring to.
Oh, yes.
So
Because it will reflect back on you.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. So I said, unfortunately, my dear friend, you copped a little bit of heat because this person
Yeah.
lost their trust in you. So you now have a valuable lesson in making sure you know who
Yeah.
you're referring to, because you have a wide range of people that you do know now that you can refer to. And ultimately it ended up okay because she referred
Yeah.
to me and the
Yeah.
situation was okay. So I have a range of people that I keep in the back of my mind. If I can't fulfill a role,
Yeah.
I go, all right, this is not something I can do. I'm going to refer to Wallen Healing Tree.
Yeah.
Or if this is a mental health thing, I know some people that I can go, all right, I'm not a counsellor, but I know some counsellors if
Yeah.
you need one.
Yeah.
Really important to have a little toolkit of
Network.
people that you
Yeah.
can call upon. And then finally, as a practitioner, having a really clear expectation of what it is that you're providing. If you are working, again, going back to the fair thing, not a fan of deep work during fairs
No.
because some of them can be really big
Yeah.
places, big crowds.
It's too much.
This person had no business divulging sexual trauma in a fair. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
clown show, that one.
Oh,
Really
God.
working in a fair, no more than maybe just a quick balance or a chakra cleanse. You don't
Yeah.
need to be going that deep in that space. So I wasn't in a position to give that person feedback, but if I was, I would have said, "Hey, buddy," because I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to call a practitioner out when I see
Yeah.
it. Hey, buddy,
Yeah.
just a word of feedback.
Yeah.
Probably the intention was
Of course.
more than likely really pure. They were doing their thing, came
Yeah.
across this
Yeah.
blockage and went, "Oh my goodness,
I can fix it.
I can fix
I can
it."
fix it.
Ego, good old ego getting in the way.
Yeah.
I don't doubt for a second that they had nothing but the purest of heart when they
Course.
did this,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
wrong place, wrong time,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
of the above. So this is a multifaceted story, but it's an important one to share
It
because I've
is.
dished off a lot of things
It is important.
that were really, really avoidable
Yeah.
every step of the way.
It really was.
So when this client finally made it to me, their trust in healing was in tatters.
Yeah.
They were having a full-blown healing crisis. And this is where it was really important for me then to take the
Yeah.
responsibility and go, all right, I'm actually not going to do a whole lot here. I'm
Yeah.
just going to hold space for you.
Yeah.
Just do a really quick balance so that it was more to alleviate what she was feeling or
Yeah.
make it a bit more of a slow release rather than a
Yeah.
full-blown, she'd
Yeah.
been hit by a truck,
Yeah.
basically.
No.
So that was the purpose of that. And I was very clear and transparent at that part of the process of, I don't want to fix you. I
Yeah.
don't want to, I also don't want to take away your experience because there was a very valuable lesson
Yeah.
in that. But the purpose was just to tone it down a
Yeah.
little bit.
Absolutely. This
So,
is
yeah,
so important.
A big whammy of a story, but really
Yeah.
important to share because
Yeah.
there's so many things involved there. That particular situation was what made me, I guess, want to drive change in this industry. I mean, multiple stories can
Oh, we
contribute, but
could
that was
talk all
the,
day about
yeah.
our stories
But
because
this was the one for
Yeah.
me that would, like, that's where the penny
Yeah.
dropped and I went, there is something seriously
Yeah.
wrong here. And
Yeah.
again, whilst I can't change the world, from this day forward, if I can make sure that my work is appropriate and streamlined
Yes.
and everyone that I interact with has the best experience
Yeah.
possible, then so be it.
I think it's important to have a quick conversation about how the ego gets in the way of our healings. And sure, Reiki and energy healing, it can't harm you if you've got high intentions and you're channeling. And I'm going to add something to it. I'm a chakra-led healer and teacher.
Yep.
And I make it very, very clear. I'm all about communicating with the chakras. The chakras tell us exactly what they need. And each chakra, each of the main 7 chakras, they'll actually spread out to the different sections of the body. So you can actually encompass the entire body if you focus just on the chakra system.
Yep.
Sure, you're going to have a little bit of intuitive hand movements around, and every healer is different, but this is my way. And the reason why I'm so passionate about chakra-led healing is because the chakras know exactly what is appropriate and what they need. We don't have to decide what we think we're going to fix them with.
Yeah.
The chakras will present what it's ready to clear, and it will call upon what it needs and drink it in. And then it will present what it's ready to clear, and then it will call upon what it needs again.
Yeah.
And if we just stick to listening and being and holding space for the chakras, coming back to that.
Well, it's no different than talking to the person, is it?
Yes.
You just open up the channel and
Yeah.
actually allow the chakras to tell you what it is
Yes.
that they need.
And that way you can't harm anyone.
Yeah.
The only times I've seen people get harmed is when they have manipulated the chakras to their will.
Mm.
Now, what's happening there? You're forcing something against its will to improve the way you think it should improve.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not a healer, this will probably go straight over your head, and that's okay. But trust in the channel, trust in the intelligence of the energy, trust in the beautiful chakras communicating with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't let the ego tell you what you want it to do.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Just like every single human being is different,
Yeah.
every single chakra system
Yeah.
is different.
Yeah.
Where a lot of problems arise is you get given a textbook
Yeah.
with the basic functions of the chakras and how they operate and call it truth. And actually, it's up to the chakra to tell you how it operates.
Yes.
So this is where it can be a little bit problematic. Again, it's really tricky because a lot of these courses just want to lay a simple foundation,
Yeah.
but I guess the other side of the coin is if you throw the intuition out the window and just go off of your teachings, it can be a bit of a mess because the chakras, they have a mind of their own.
Yeah, there's
They're-
some books that say they spin this way and some spin that way, and if it's male and female, it's spin. I'm like, oh,
and then to each person doing the
and it
healing,
must be this color.
yeah, and to each person doing the healing, they look different as well.
Some are flowers, some are tunnels, some are eyeballs.
Mine is like an aperture lens on a camera.
There you go. Yeah, I've seen
So
it.
it's
Different for everyone.
exactly. So this is the thing when the recipient is a unique spiritual being and the healer is a unique spiritual being, why are we putting so much so much structure to something that is completely intuitive?
Yeah. This is the tricky part, isn't it? We can't give you a perfect formula for this.
There is actually no textbook we could write. We've tried. We have tried.
Really tried. But it's like, nah.
There's no way. And I guess this is where, again, it's important to make sure that you pick a teacher that you resonate with because there's only so much you can get from a book.
Yeah.
You really just have to hear it from a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a telltale, if you're looking for a healer and you're trying to find the right one for you, you can hear it in their language if they are intuitive and chakra-led or maybe just, energy body-led, I'll call it. Some people don't go with the chakras. You can hear it in their language of, I will fix you, I will heal you. That's why I'm a bit about the word healer. A healer never truly heals anyone, ever. And that sounds like a strange thing to say, but they are like no different to a PT.
Yeah.
They are there at the gym with you and they're showing you the techniques and they're giving you the coaching and they're giving you the support and they're providing you with the equipment and they're clearing the sweat from your brow. But you're doing all the work. You're the one pumping the iron. You might be snoring your head off on the table, by the way, so this analogy is confusing. But your energy system, your chakras, I should say, are doing the work.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And this is where it comes back to is it's like, just do your research. Like if that's the one thing I can say is do your research because you will pick up on their language.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between, and in fact, I'll use two stories here very quickly. I had someone do a healing on me one time and they said, oh, Katie, I went into one particular chakra and I redecorated it. Like I changed this, I changed that, what have you. And I was really frustrated with them.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you did not have my consent to do that. And they said, well, you agreed to the healing. And I said, no, I did, but I didn't agree to you manipulating me.
Yeah.
So I was very upset with that. And then in comparison, I had another healer say to me, I actually just held the container for you. I have some observations. This is what they are, but I didn't even change the positioning I was in because you were quite happy doing the work on your own. I said, the only little bit of feedback I'll give, and this is one area where I did tweak it, was you kept trying to give your energy back to me.
Oh, healer's hard.
Yeah, right? So they were like, I did prevent that, but that was the only role that I played in that. Other than that, you did everything else.
Amazing. And what she's explaining there, whoever that very clever healer was one of our students for sure.
Definitely.
What she's explaining there, and I'll give you an analogy. I love my analogies with this, but I imagine that I am in an operating room and I am the operation nurse. And the chakras themselves, I imagine, are the healers, the doctors, and they basically will say, "Nurse, provide me with this particular energy," and I'll be like, "Sure, here's some Reiki, here's some Ashanti, here's some Althemia, whatever it is, here's some Malaita," and then they'll say, "Clear," suction, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll clear what they're ready to clear, and I'll just literally hold space and wait and be neutral and channel, and then they will just call in. They'll use me as a receptor. They'll use me as a channel, and I will be fine with that because I'm actually benefiting as well because I'm filling my cup up with beautiful energy as well while I'm resonating at this very, very high vibration and delivering them what they need.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's so it's like being a nurse in the operating room.
Yeah. Yep.
And it takes all ego out.
Yeah.
Because I'm no longer the almighty fixer. And as a healer, that's a wonderful thing because that's a lot of pressure to have on your shoulders that you've got to fix someone.
Yeah.
That is a disaster waiting to happen because you will at some point quit the job.
Yeah.
It'll be too much responsibility on your shoulders.
Well, you're placing too much worth on what you should or should not be able to do.
And that's all ego.
Exactly. And one thing I do want to say, though, for anyone out here that's listening and going, "Oh my God, I feel like the worst person in the world."
Oh,
I just want to
no,
really
yeah.
quickly say that we do all go through that process.
Every single one of us.
So if you're sitting there
100%.
going, "Oh my God, these two women are calling me out,"
No.
please don't take it that way. I guess the point we're trying to make is when you can see that the ego is in action, just bring awareness to it. Really gently guide yourself into or remind yourself that, all right, I'm just the container here, and know that that is always going to be a more powerful role than someone trying to control the whole situation.
Every single one of us got here from our mistakes. None of us will. I think our students got a leg up, you know, absolutely. But I learnt the hard way. I stuffed up plenty of times. I never really hurt anyone else, but I hurt myself many times. And I had to learn through my errors and mistakes. I am definitely not Miss Perfect. And that's a really important message to come through. I've learned by the mistakes that I've made. I was full of ego when I first started this. I did see myself as the fixer. I did see myself as some sort of magical person that was delivering some magic. At the beginning, I did. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah.
And it's made me a very, very, very effective healer because now I can just channel and I can just listen and I'm off the hook. I don't have to change the world, but I can just channel and give them exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah.
And what's for their highest good only, most importantly.
100%.
But that didn't come straight away. So if you are a practitioner or a healer or a medium and you're sitting there feeling like Katie said, feeling bad because we're calling out some particular things that are not healthy, don't get upset. Don't worry. We've all been there. This is about improving and adding and starting. And some of the things won't fit for you. Some of the things you might not agree with, and that's okay. This is just our opinion, isn't it? And just our experience.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the main reason that this industry does remain unmoderated as much as it's my plight. I think a big part of it is because, like, how do you put parameters around something like this? Like, all of the things that we've spoken about are very valid, but it's also really tricky to put a rule system in something that is so fluid.
It is really challenging. It's like, how do we... It is fluid. That's a perfect word for it. It is fluid. I'm learning at the moment about transpersonal psychology, and it's really interesting in this course that I'm doing. I'm doing inner child certification, even though I've been doing inner child for years. I wanted to have that piece of paper behind it. And also, it's been really wonderful because it's a psychology subject, and it's refreshed me on all the psychology subjects, which has been really, really wonderful. Because it gives you that, aha, oh my gosh, that's why that works. That's why this works. It's really this beautiful aha moment. But they talk about this term transpersonal psychology, and I'd never heard of it before. I used to call it metaphysics, etheric teaching, you know, all of those particular spiritual teachings, but it actually has a name.
Yeah.
And basically, many of the psychology minds actually brought up this term of understanding that there was more to psychology than we know, that there is a conscious state that expands, and a lot of these other practices like meditation, hypnosis, going into the deeper understanding of how the consciousness works.
Yeah,
And there are parameters around that. So I think that might be the beginning of the work that we're doing.
I think so.
I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's really great that we've spoken about this today and we've just added a little bit of context to
Yeah.
some of the things that can go wrong and sort of the things we can do about it.
Yeah.
But also driving home that this is I guess a fact of life of what we do,
Yeah.
that it
And
can
no
be
one's
messy.
talking about it.
No, no. Well, this is why I wanted to have this conversation. I think the amount of times I've walked into this studio and gone, oh, I need a debrief
Yeah.
about this thing that's happened. It could have been so avoidable,
Yeah.
or, you know, this is really stressing me out. And I'm going, hang on.
Yeah. Or the amount of times we've heard stories. I had a client, before she'd seen me, she had gone to a healer who told her that halfway through her healing, because she started to convulse, because that's a thing. People convulse sometimes during healing. It's actually something that happens. And that's another thing that healers need to be aware of. Because if you see someone convulsing on the table and you don't know what's going on, it can really be quite
It
deceiving.
is very confronting.
It is.
The first time it happened to me, I really thought I was like hurting this person.
Yeah, but it's a thing. It's just how some people release energy.
Yep.
And it happens quite often. As a full-time healer, I'm seeing it at least maybe once every 3 months, which is often enough. Or some people just have a tremor, or some people with full grand mal seizure almost, to the point where I have my table set up at the wall just in case it happens now. Anyway, going back to the story, she'd gone to a healer and she started to convulse. And this healer wasn't aware, she hadn't had the trainings. There's nothing against that healer, nothing against her. But she hadn't had the training that this is something that actually occurs. She then freaked out and her belief system, her fear-based belief system, chimed in, and she decided in that moment that she was suffering a demon attack.
Oh, no. Oh, poor darling. Yeah.
The problem is she told the client. She said, I can't help you. You have a demon inside you.
Like, imagine receiving that information. See, this is what bothers me. So the person will then feel like there's something wrong with them and that they've got a demon inside them.
Yes.
And just imagine the fear and the horrible energy that's going to come from that.
So eventually I found out through someone else that this has happened, and I reached to her because I thought, this poor woman is going around thinking she's got a demon inside her. I don't believe in demons. Personally, that's my belief system. I do believe in dense energy, but I don't believe in demons. But I have seen many, many things that can explain why that would happen. Anyway, so I called her and she said, no, I don't want an appointment with you. And I said, why? And she said, because I'm scared my demon will hurt you.
So she was really in that fear
Yeah, and I
narrative.
said, come in, let's do this. I have no issues with whatever it is that's causing it. She came in and I instantly didn't detect even a parasite, because I was assuming it was a parasite. Because we won't talk about that at this point of the podcast. But I assumed maybe she had some parasitic energy, maybe even attachment energy, and nothing that we don't see as advanced healers every now and then. It's not a big deal, really isn't. And I didn't detect anything, nothing. And I was like, what's going on here? Get her on the table. It was just the way her body released energy.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't even parasitic. It wasn't an attachment. It definitely wasn't any demon. Her energy, so she did shake. She was convulsing, and we had to put 2 beds in place and make sure that she was safe, because I do have a duty of care, which is another one that's important. And we found that she just convulses during her healings.
Right.
She's
So
fully
just-
conscious.
Yeah.
It's not like a grand mal seizure.
Yeah.
It's just her
She's
body
just
needs
really-
to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. It was a great healing.
Yeah. Well, if you
Yeah.
think about it, right, like a lot of healers are taught, now this is not the method we use or I subscribe to, but a lot of healers are taught that when they've got a lot of energy to take it
Yes.
out, right?
Yeah.
How is that
That's what
any different?
children do. Children do that.
Yeah, well, it's a very somatic
Yeah.
practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how would that be any different to someone on the table that is just releasing the energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, and it's very common. It is something that we see. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's definitely not a demon.
Yeah. I just imagine myself being on the receiving end of that information, and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
But even if that was fact, right, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, if that
Yeah.
were fact, there's a way to say
Yeah.
things.
There really is.
So We won't go too much into the parasite thing, but again, it's something that we do
Yeah.
talk about and we do see a lot in our practice.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's carrying a dense energy or some parasitic energy,
Yeah.
sometimes it is for the benefit of the client to like let them know that that is something.
We have to use discernment though.
Yeah, not
every
all the
client can
time.
handle it. Sometimes it's like, I cleared a really big block.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
Again, that little self-audit comes
Yeah.
in as to if it's
Yeah.
necessary to tell someone.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times, especially when it has
Yeah.
physical consequences,
Yeah.
you know, maybe they're not sleeping well or they're really struggling to put on weight or
Yeah.
they're, you know, like sick all of the time. Sometimes it might be worth letting them know that that is something that's
Yeah.
happened so that they can make sense of what has been happening to them for the
Yeah.
last couple of months.
Yeah.
So I will say, oh, look, there was a bit of density there. Oh, yeah, I actually maybe, and something that happens a lot is I don't tell them. They tell me. They go,
Yeah.
oh, I think I'm carrying a parasite.
Yeah.
And
Some
I
people
go, you
are
know what? Actually, you were.
good. Yeah.
And that's
And
clear
it's that
now.
education around, it's nothing to be afraid of. Parasites, just seems we've already opened this conversation. We need to finish it. Parasites, for those of you that are interested, are stronghold belief systems that literally grow like a tumor within you and have their own consciousness. It's almost like you birth a part of you.
Yeah.
They
You're
call it
literally
soul.
creating a monster, so to
You
speak.
literally do. And they're actually part of you. They're like a soul fragment. That's what people tend to talk about. And we clear them just like we clear spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. And we help them pass over to the oversoul. But it's very, very important. We literally send them love.
Yeah.
That sounds really strange, but I actually send them love and care and appreciation, something that they lack so much of. And then they are able to raise in vibration and move on. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't expect to have that conversation today, but if we're going to talk about parasites, I want to shed any fear away from it.
Well, it's important because
Yeah.
we have dropped it a few times, so it's good
Yeah.
to add the context for those that are
Yeah.
out there. It's a very normal thing.
Yeah.
We will experience them several times in our own lifetime. It's just,
Yeah.
again, it's a fact of life. It's
Yeah.
just part of our existence.
I didn't realize how common they were until I started doing this full time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, to be honest, most people have one
At least
somewhere in
within
the
their
layout.
lifetime.
Yeah, well, actually more regularly than I thought
Yeah.
than that, to be honest.
Yep.
It's really any strong belief system that has just held in tends to even be its own consciousness, which
Yeah.
I deem probably controversial, but I deem that as parasitic because it has to reinforce itself. A negative belief cycle has to reinforce itself
Yeah.
over
Yep.
and over again. So I actually deem that as parasitic.
Well, and in this
Yeah.
modern world as well, where we're surrounded by so much stimulus all the time, you know, we've got the news and
Yeah.
we go out into the public where everyone's got their own things going on, or we're empathetic people that spend a lot of time around lower vibrational people just as a byproduct of being on this planet. Like, these are some situations where a parasite will occur.
Yeah.
And it's just part of being out in the environment that we live in.
Yeah. And it is different to attachments. I won't discuss attachments here, but they're a little bit more trickier. But we treat them the same way. We have to raise their vibration and send them off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, look, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But it is part of the ethics process, because if I turn around and say to someone, you've got a parasite, that's really scary stuff. Like, people have this idea that it's some sort of demon attached, sucking at you. It's not. It's a dense energy reinforcing itself.
But
Anyway,
that's one thing I just wanted to lay emphasis on is all of this is just perfectly normal.
Yeah, it
but
is.
as a healer, we have a responsibility to, one, normalize it, and two, be really delicate about how we deliver this information.
Because people don't, they only hear the negative stuff. How many times have you gone for a reading and you've just skipped over all the positive stuff that the reader said, and you've gone straight to the fact that the devil card came up and you've decided that that means something in particular.
Yeah.
And you've left home thinking about the bad stuff or the negative stuff that you've interpreted. So it's really important. What we say really matters. It really makes a difference.
Delivery is a huge part of what we do.
Everything. So if you get anything out of today's talk, what was the saying?
Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it relevant?
Stick to that.
If you stick to those principles, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Katie, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and being the first person in my little makeshift studio.
Yeah, it's been so much fun.
I kind of forgot we were recording and off we went.
We knew that would happen,
Yeah,
though. This is
absolutely.
just a random
Yeah,
conversation
this is just our
for us.
normal conversations. But thank you so much. And I'd love to have you on again soon.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have many, many subjects that we can discuss. But maybe we do talk about parasites and attachments
Yeah, I'm
later
happy to
on.
come back and talk about that for sure.
Yeah, and maybe start to unravel some of the fear-based concepts around it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, again, part of this whole ethics chat is talking about the not so nice parts of being an energy healer.
Yeah.
There are some challenges. So
are.
I would love to come back and talk about that at another time.
Amazing. And where can we find more information about you if people would like to look into your services?
Good question. You can find me through Wallen Healing Tree. I'm sure you'd be able to refer people to have a chat with me if they want to.
Yeah.
I do have, this is a little bit of a side note, but I have been working a lot in the fitness side of things
you have.
recently. So if you wanted to follow my socials, it is not spiritual at all, but you can find me on Instagram. Completely left of field of what we've spoken about. But if you've if you've enjoyed our conversation or you want to reach out to me, that's where you can find me for now.
Amazing.
And watch this space because I'm sure I'll be back with something interesting soon.
I love it. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.